Hey, Desiree here with Soulpath Astrology and this week's Oracle card readings. Tarot Tuesday, Taco Tarot Tuesday, whatever we're calling it. Welcome. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I am so happy that you found this. We are a place of self-exploration, of using tarot, astrology, numerology, gene keys, human design, and my messy life as opportunities and examples and places and tools for which you can do your own self development, where we can attune to truth, to what is real for us, to use our own sovereign guidance system to lead us into what we came here to do. This channel is absolutely about using all of this stuff as a cauldron in a container for you to discover your own gifts, your own talents, your own challenges that you came here to overcome so that you may extract the gifts that are inherent, in each one of those. I have a strong belief that all of our challenges, in fact, embedded within them, sometimes wrapped in ugly wrapping paper, but underneath that, when you can do the work, when you can do the digging, are some of our most precious gifts and skills and opportunities to step into the version of ourselves that we most long to be, that we came here to embody. Yes. So that's what this channel is about. If you are a returning member, a returning watcher, thank you. I'm always so happy to have everyone here. And as always, if you do find value in these, please subscribe to the channel, comment on the video. I absolutely love hearing how these things land for you personally. It's such a beautiful way for our energy to commingle and co-create together. Yeah. Okay, so let's start. So the way this works, I'm going to have a little riff on the astro weather. Then I'm going to present three cards of which you can pick one or two or three in your mind. Just center yourself and align with that. We might do a little practice right before I present those to help do that. And then we'll jump into, and they'll be time-stamped, each card. Often they work together. And if you feel called to read all three of them or to listen to all three of them together as sort of a cohesive whole, I highly recommend that because it's often it lends a level of nuance that just really fills things out and makes it feel exactly like what you need in this moment. And may this medicine find you where you need it. Okay, so astro weather. This is for like July 10th, the 8th is when this will be launching until a week later, the following Tuesday. But there's two things that I really want to focus on just to keep it simple and to not overwhelm ourselves. One is yesterday's, which at the time of this recording is today's July 7th, Uranus moving into Gemini. Now, I've talked about this before in some other videos, but I want to jump into this in a really, like a fun way to invite you into, because Uranus is disruptive. Uranus is outside the box. Uranus is shocking revelations, and it's moved into, as of the 7th, Gemini, which is about communication. It's about close to home, like our siblings, and travel that's not too far away. Gemini is very much our thought processes. And so we have this disruptive influence, and it'll be here for 8 years. It does do a little retrograde. I made notes because I can never remember this stuff. It goes back into Taurus November 7th, and then it will re-enter Gemini again in April of 2026, where it will stay until I believe May of 2033. It's an 8-year cycle. 8 years of this energy entering into your life. Wherever Gemini falls into your chart, this is the area of your life that you're going to be really feeling this poignantly. If you don't know how to do that, you can DM me. I'll send you a link on how to run your own chart. If you just want to do a reading with me, we can definitely deep dive into this personally, so you're not just trying to cobble stuff together online. But having something as disruptive as Uranus coming into Gemini in an era of AI, of communication, of how we bring information together, how we think, our information systems are all coming in for this big disruption. And if you've been following this channel for any length of time, you know that I'm all about organic and biology and life. And I really feel like there is all of this inner technology and a way of communicating telepathically, energetically, like just sitting across from somebody and being able to feel into this energetic space between the two of us as a method of communication. This sort of idea is just going to be getting, in my opinion, a huge boost of energy. I'm not the first one to come up with this. Patricia Albert of Evolutionary Relationships, Evolutionary Collective, she has been speaking about this forever. And I feel like we're really going to start noticing that there's something that happens when we come together, communicate close together, especially in physical proximity, though it can be done over Zoom, but there really is no replacement for physical proximity. Something happens, and we're going to start to learn how to work with that energy way more consciously, way more on a collective level for the collective, for our tribe, for our recognizing how we're all interconnected as a species on this planet with all the other beings, all the other energetic bits that exist on this planet. We're all one pulsing, living organism. And I think over the next 8 years, in ways that we can't even fathom at this point, 8 years from now, like in 2033, we'll be looking back going, holy shit. Can you believe how much has changed for how we communicate, how we interface with each other, how we share information? And AI is definitely part of it, but even that is starting to get a bit of a shakedown, right? It's starting to replicate its own mistakes. So it's really interesting to see how that's going to play out over the next 8 years and how we're going to learn to define what's real, what's true, what is in our heart. Because even communicating like with our mouth like this, I'll say the word camping, for example, and I have an idea. I have an image that evokes in my mind's eye, but I bet you yours is different. So it may be really similar, but it's still going to be different in some key points. And this is the problem with communication. And I think we're going to find ways of evolving past the miscommunication that happens when we share stuff verbally, when we share stuff in writing, when we share stuff even worse than like text messages or emails. It's like the further apart we get in our the distance that we're trying to travel in our communication or the tool that we're using to communicate, the more room there is for like that broken telephone thing to happen. And I think what we're going to find is that all of this, because of the broken telephone methodology, and if you don't know what I mean, there was like a game when we were kids that, you'd sit in a circle and someone would whisper a word to the one next to them, and then that person would whisper the word that they heard to the person next to them, and so on and so forth. And it would go around the circle. And every time, by the time it got back to the original person, it was not even close to the original word. That's broken telephone. And that's what I think we're going to find becomes so evident. And we're going to be stepping into ways where we get a more pure transmission of communication of ideas, of meaning, of like whole ideas just dropping in that we share collectively together. So this is my big exciting thing that's bubbling up for me, that Uranus and Gemini, or Gemini, yes, Uranus and Gemini is going to be, I think, spearheading in a very real and tangible way as we move forward over the next 8 years. And then we'll have that little backtrack, like I said, where it goes back into Taurus. And that's where it grounds. Taurus is about grounding things. It's also about, it's very earthy, right? So it could be about farming. It can be about our food stuffs. It can be about our money. So maybe there'll be with this new ideas that we start to cultivate now, as it retrogrades, we start to apply them in those fields. And then it really gets launched, like I said, in April of 2026, where it really becomes like, okay, now it's full steam ahead. So that's that. Then on a much more shorter term, but very potent, very poignant placement, on July 10th is the full moon in Capricorn, also an earth sign. Capricorn is about our legacy. It's about money. It's about being like a pillar in the community. It's ruled by Saturn. It's very rigid, often in its thinking. It's the boundaries. This is a full moon. So in all of that, what's coming to a conclusion? Full moons are illuminating what's ready to be released. It's illuminating what's stagnant, what's not working, what's maybe too rigid in this case. Maybe it's ideas you have around money. Maybe it's rules. Maybe there's going to be some risk taking that you'll start to do after this full moon. But this full moon is asking you to get real, Capricorn, shining the light on your finances, on your work, on your health, on your legacy, like these long-term thinking things. That's Capricorn. Maybe some of you will be working on your will, that sort of thing. So that's the full moon in Capricorn. That's on July 10th. Really invite you to step into that. I love a good moon ritual. I think that they're fantastic. Full moons are awesome for writing down what you're ready to get rid of. Not so much about writing what you want to bring in, but just what are you ready to liberate out of your energy body? What are you just so done with? What over the last 2 weeks has been pretty alive for you that you're over it? That is the stuff that you should write down and burn it or bury it, but just, really consciously allow yourself the opportunity to liberate it from your energy body, liberate it from your mind so that you can clear the space for the new moon energy in 2 weeks' time, where you'll be planting some new things. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into the card portion of the Astro reading of the weather that's going on. Here is our 3 cards. Card number 1, card number 2, card number 3. And some of you might notice I got a new deck because my puppy ate my other one. For real. She ate two of the cards. So I had to get a new deck. And this one is forest based, which is so my jam. And I can't wait to show you all the imagery of it. So I'm going to hold these up again. 1, 2, 3. And let's just take a deep breath together. Where we allow ourselves to ground and center. Arriving into this present moment. Asking what bit of wisdom would be most helpful for you right now. And when you're ready, open your eyes and pick 1, 2, or 3. Okay, here we go. Card number 1. If this was your selection, this is what you've got. The Fool card. I love me the Fool card. New beginnings. This is take a risk. The Fool card is absolutely, like, just look at this dreamy forest scape. It's like, I love the BC forest. I'm just going to sidebar. I like literally live for that forest. And these cards are so like representative of it. Absolutely love it. The Fool card is all about being willing to look foolish, being willing to just step off the cliff and trust that your wings are going to show up. This is so Uranus in Gemini as it's moving. Like, what perfect timing right at the very beginning of this, where it's stepping into this new energy. What might be a new way for you to communicate? What have you been longing to say or arriving in a relationship or relationships generally and really like wanting deeply to know, like wanting to express something that you've maybe historically, so you know how I pick on me all the time. So I'm going to use me as an example. I've been noticing how I do this fawning thing. So for example, I'll be out with the puppy and maybe someone else's dog is being a little bit overly aggressive or is being embarrassing to the owner in some way. And I feel compelled to try to make the owner feel better rather than like it's uncomfortable for me to step up and to like advocate for my dog and be like, okay, well, we're just going to back away from this energy because, this is stressing her out and I want to allow her to not be stressed out. So we're just going to, thanks for the chat. Thanks for the visit, but we're going to move on. It's so hard for me to do that, but this is my Fool invitation, is to just say these things, just stand up for yourself, advocate for your, in this case, my puppy, but this is like representative of my gentleness, my softness, my vulnerability. Maybe you have a business venture that wants to start. We've got this full moon in Capricorn energy coming online. Maybe there's something new in a monetary way that you want to start, a new career, or maybe you want to move. Maybe you want to start a new way of presenting yourself in the world. The Fool card is saying, just take a risk. Just do it. Just fucking do it. If you want help with that, if you need someone to cheer you on, if you want to deep dive and bolster your sense of courage around that, I would love to offer you a reading. You can find a link to my calendar in the comments and in the description of the video. Yeah. Did you like this? Like it. Share it with somebody that it might land with. Absolutely love that. Okay, let's move on to card number 2. Here it is. If this was your selection, what you got? Boo, doo, boo, boo. We have the 9 of Wands. Oh, the Nine of Wands. In the regular imagery for this, it's this guy and he's like slugging it home and he's got like this bandana over his head. And it's like, ugh. The Nine of Wands is about perseverance. It's about courage. It's about, hey, you, I know this has been a slog, but you're almost there. This is maybe arriving, if it was your card, at a time in your life where you feel like you've just been like, fuck me, like you've been hammering away on something for a long time. You're right there. You are almost at the completion. This is like such a beautiful reinvigoration of energy into your space, a reminder that you've got this, that maybe there's a little bit of a crisis of faith right now. And this is because there is a time when you're supposed to give up, really. But if this was your card, this isn't that. This is the time that you're supposed to dig in. This is the time where you're meant to remind yourself of what your objective was in the first place. What was that thing that inspired you, that got you started on this journey? So we had the Fool card as the first card. This Nine of Wands, this is like you've been in the journey for a while, and it's asking you to remember your faith, to remember why you started, to remember the Fool you that was so excited at the beginning of this, to rekindle, reconnect to that energy, that version of you, and bring it forward, because you're almost there. You're almost there. You've been doing such a good job, and it's been laden with some trials. We're not going to sugarcoat that. And those trials have been fire for the forge, fire for the steel, right? To forge the steel into something sharp and strong and capable. You're nearly done. So just, you got this. Remind yourself, you've got this. You've got this. And reach out for help. Reach out for support if you feel like you need it. I might be one of those opportunities for support if that's what you so choose. If that lands and resonates, if it feels exciting, you can find a link below to my calendar. Let's do a reading and fortify that sense of capacity and resiliency that you hold. And maybe there's a journaling prompt in here too about, what is my relationship to resiliency? What is my relationship to commitment? How do I know that what I've committed to is worth it when it gets crunchy and when it gets hard? Where do I feel that in my body? Maybe that's something of value there too. Okay. Last but certainly not least, card number 3. If this was yours, this is what you've got. The 10 of Pentacles. This is such a lovely card. This is the completion. The 10 is about completion. Pentacles is about legacy. It's about money. It's about a job. Often this shows up if it's, like if you're maybe nearing the retirement and you just have this wealth of knowledge, wealth of wisdom, and perhaps you're being called into sharing it. Like, this can also be about our ancestors, like recognizing that you have this whole abundance of wisdom. Like, we talk about our karmic ancestry, our, being the one to heal the karmic wounds that have been running through our lineage. But there's gifts too. And that's what this card speaks to, is our karmic gifts through our lineage. What is the gifts that your family line brings to you, that your genetic line brings to you, that your bloodline brings to you? Yes, you're here to heal and work through and complete some of the unfinished business. But in order to do that, you've also been bestowed all of these gifts. And there's this beautiful opportunity to open to those right now. What are the gifts, right? What is it that you can bring into, and maybe journal about that? Ask, what are the gifts that my family and my blood, my genetics, my light energy body came here from all lifetimes, from all of my ancestry, from all of the future ancestry. This is some of the other cool thing about Uranus, incidentally, is bringing in wildly different ideas. What if you can draw from the future? Not only can you draw from the past, what if you can draw from the future? How can you start to amalgamate that energy in your present body as you arrive here right now in this moment? That gets pretty exciting. Love the 10 of Pentacles. It is just such a juicy, good, vibrant, good luck card. Reside in that. Align with and hold the space for abundance, for completion, for gifts, for good luck, for fullness. Yes, love that. I hope that it landed. Comment if it did. Share with someone who you think might find value in it. Let me know. Let me know. And if you'd like a reading, as always, you know where you can find me. The link to my calendar is in the comments and the description. Also, you can just DM me if that's easy and we can set it up that way. In the meantime, my beautiful soul family, I hope you have an awesome week. Enjoy this full moon. And as always, I'll see you next Tuesday.